Leonard, I meant to ask you something. Before your book, how did Casanova, how did his fame spread so that, as I said to you, it's almost accepted today? Don Juan and Casanova, you know, somebody will throw this around as a phrase as long as I can remember. Oh, he's a regular Casanova or a regular Don Juan. How did his fame spread so?
His fame spread...
And I have that word in quotes, incidentally, fame.
After the publication of the book, first in German, then in French, eventually in Spanish and in Dutch and all over the world, and also the first English full translation was done by a man who became a famous writer following that, but the first thing that he did was the translation from French into English, and that was Arthur Machen. That was in the 1890s. But from 1822 on, this man's fame and his loves and his story have spread first under the impression that it was fictional, and then more, as time went on, the realization and the checking up and the finding that it is so as a actual autobiography.
Stendhal was a contemporary of his, wasn't he?
Stendhal came later. No, later, yes.
To your knowledge, Leonard, has Hollywood ever done anything on Casanova?
There was a Spanish picture that was made and exhibited here about 3 or maybe 4 years ago, called Casanova, which was one of the most beautiful to look at and one of the dumbest pictures I've ever seen. There was only a short sequence that gave you any of the suggestion of what this story could be on the screen.
Well, then you do think it could be a story for the screen?
Yes, someone...
If you were casting tonight, would you select Al Lopman for the principal role?
You see, Al can't sing, and I have Robert Goulet in mind for the part.
Oh, I see.
Of course, I'm taking the man when he's older, because my story, if you're talking about my Casanova, takes place when he's 40 years old, which is older than Robert Goulet is, but at the same time, I take 4 days out of the life of Casanova in one particular little...
See, even Al couldn't portray that part because he isn't young enough for that part.
Younger than you, am I?
But, there have been operettas, there have been operas.
Well, he feels, Jack Keane says it should be made into an opera.
It has been made as an opera. You see.
Did you know that?
If you will look on lists, those, but it hasn't been a successful opera. There have been 4 or 5 different attempts. I was going to do this with a wonderful composer who unfortunately died, and that was David Brookman, who was with the NBC and did the music and the musical direction on Wide Wide World, and had many notable things. And he wanted very much to write this with me. But at the moment, I am talking with several composers about this. Of this particular story, and I feel that and they attempt to encompass all of his life, or even a year of his life, is far too much to try to get a real entertainment, and that's why I'm interested. I have already done an operetta with Casanova in it,
I was unaware of that.
Yes. In 1944, I was called in to rewrite a show called Rhapsody, which was with music by Fritz Kreisler, and it took place at the court of Maria Theresa. And I did this in 5 days and 5 nights at a rather remarkable fee, I might add. And I was dissatisfied with the comedy part that Eddie Mayhoff was playing. So I rewrote that part, among all the other rewriting that I did. I rewrote it completely and made it Casanova because I knew that Casanova was there in Vienna at that time.
What first attracted you to Casanova?
Well, at the time when I first did this, there hadn't been a 1-volume on Casanova of any worth or value since 1929, when there was a modern library version.
Wouldn't you say honestly, though, Leonard,
that actually you had a great desire after meeting Al Lotman and learning about his life to do his life, and you realized that it wouldn't be proper while the man is still alive, and you thought in the meantime you would write the memoirs of Casanova. Wasn't this it because there's such a great similarity?
No, I'm telling you this. I don't care, and I'm saying it to his face. If Al Lotman objects or not, I'm going to write his life while he's still alive. You see, not only am I going to write the part of his life that he's already lived, but I'm going to sit down and write the part that he's going to live afterwards.
Into the future.
I am going to command into the future.
My dear Leonard, my association with John, my future, believe me, is limited. Very limited.
But not from a cinemascope viewpoint.
That's right. It's widescreen, Dad.
Color?
What else? I mean, if we can capture that apoplectic color that you are sporting at the moment, we're in. Because I don't think that this is the greatest challenge that Technicolor's ever had.
Leonard, thanks for
You
being
got the
with us.
last.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck to you with the book.
I appreciate it.
Leonard Lewis Levinson condensed, edited, and wrote the introduction and epilogue for the new paperback book, The Memoirs of Jacques Casanova. Published by Collier Books. Kai-D of the Manchurian Candidate. Albert Lotman.
Pass the time playing
Yes, sir,
a game
extraordinary.
of solitaire.
Get the blazes out of here.
And Dr. Emerson Coyle, psychologist. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt at this time. I hope that our listeners have enjoyed the discussion as much as I did the time when we originally recorded it. As I said earlier, we are on tape this morning. And I'm certainly indebted to those who helped to make this show possible. I think the subject of Casanova has certainly proved to be of interest. And maybe our guest would like to get a copy of the book that should be available in your bookstores at the present time. I'll be back in a short time to bid you good night, and for another few minutes we might listen to some music. Jack, do you have some music ready there? We'll listen to it now. Thank you. Well, neighbors, that wraps it up for another morning. We'll be back again with you tonight at midnight. I hope that you'll be with us. Our engineer, Jack Keene, coordinators, Anna Marie Getz and David Field. So if you're getting up now, I sincerely hope you have a wonderful day. And if you're going to bed, get a good night's sleep. Sleep real good. Bless you.
This is WOR, AM and FM, your RKO General Station in New York. At the WOR time signal, exactly 5 o'clock, time for Sunrise Serenade. Good morning, everybody. This is Dan McCullough with Sunrise Serenade. It's Wednesday, April 10th, 1963. The temperature is 38 degrees, humidity 57%, barometric pressure is 29.48 inches, and the wind is from the west at 12 miles per hour. The forecaster says we'll have some variable cloudiness today with sunshine. It'll be breezy and cool. The highest temperatures around 50. It'll be fair and cool tonight, lowest temperatures in the mid-30s in the city and near 30 in the outlying suburbs. Thursday, tomorrow, variable cloudiness, continued cool, the highest 50 to 55. Our winds will be from the northwest today, 15 to 25 miles per hour, with some higher gusts. And tonight they'll diminish, and also continuing through Thursday to about 15 to 20 miles per hour. The outlook for Friday, fair and continued cool. Morning, Mr. Keene. Mr. Keene is here. Mr. Cook is here. And with them here, how can we lose? Oh, what's that, my boy? Two-man show, that's right. Well, I always knew that I'd eventually have two engineers. I have two because they're small. 1 minute, 30 seconds past 5, and now the news from the WOR newsroom. Both business and government are waiting to see whether Big Steel follows the lead of Wheeling Steel and boosts prices. Wheeling's hike, averaging $6 per ton, goes into effect today, almost exactly 1 year after Big Steel tried to boost prices. Last year's announced price increase collapsed under pressure from President Kennedy. Wheeling blames the latest hike on spiraling labor and material costs. General Lucius Clay, reportedly will recommend cuts in President Kennedy's foreign aid bill when he appears before the House Foreign Affairs Committee today. Clay headed a presidential study of the aid program. The president had trimmed the bill himself by $400 million, down to $4.5 billion, and Clay may recommend another $400 million slash. Pope John the 23rd has warned that man would be wiped out by an atomic war. The Roman Catholic leader made public his latest encyclical in which he says, peace must be maintained by negotiation. Attorney James Donovan says he's very optimistic Cuba will release all Americans held in prison. Donovan returned to Florida from Havana yesterday with 9 American fishermen and a California missionary released by Premier Castro after talks with Donovan. The New York attorney says 22 or 23 Americans remain in Cuban jails, and more may have been imprisoned in recent months. Prime Minister Diefenbaker says he'll decide soon whether to give up control of the government. Diefenbaker's Conservatives lost heavily in Monday's election, but could stay in power under a coalition, even though the Liberals, led by Lester Pearson, hold more seats in Parliament. Canadian newspapers are urging Diefenbaker to resign. The 38-year-old millionaire wife of society columnist Igor Cassini is dead after taking 30 sleeping pills. Mrs. Charlene Wrightsman Cassini succumbed after being rushed to Lenox Hill Hospital from her fashionable apartment at 944 Fifth Avenue. Her husband, nationally syndicated under the name of Charlie Knickerbocker, was indicted last February for failing to register as an agent for the government of slain Dominican dictator Rafael Trujillo and faces trial in federal court in Washington May 13th. Friends said Mrs. Cassini felt her oil-rich father and stepmother, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Wrightsman of Palm Beach, had snubbed Cassini since his indictment. The Wrightsmen are intimate friends of President and Mrs. Kennedy. The Cassinis formerly were considered members of the White House social set. Mail is pouring in on City Hall in protest against Mayor Wagner's proposed one-third hike in the 3% sales tax, but the mayor won't be reading much of it after today. A spokesman at City Hall said that it has received petitions with 100,000 names, along with many postcards apparently distributed to customers by department stores. Hundreds of individual letters also protested the boost. Wagner himself will leave with his wife today for a vacation in the Bahamas. The trip is expected to keep him away over April 18th, when the City Council has scheduled a public hearing on the tax program. It's now 5 minutes past 5. Temperature 38 degrees, humidity 57%, variable cloudiness with sunshine, breezy and cool today, highest temperatures around 50. In sports, the 1963 baseball season got underway in earnest yesterday, and it was like old times as far as the two New York teams are concerned. The Yanks won and the Mets lost. The Bronx Bombers pounded Kansas City 8-2, and St. Louis blanked the Mets 7-0. In a couple of night games, the Los Angeles Angels topped Boston 4-1, and Philadelphia nipped Cincinnati 2-1. By the way, in the Yankees game, Joe Pepitone hit 2 home runs for the New York team. In hockey, the Toronto Maple Leafs moved into a 1-game lead in the final Stanley Cup playoff series with a 4-2 win over Detroit, and the second game in the best-of-7 series will be held tomorrow night. In racing, the Dean of American Horse Trainers, Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, says he is finally calling it quits. The 88-year-old Mr. Fitz saddled more than 2,000 winners during his 63 years of thoroughbreds training. 2 of the horses, Gallant Fox and Omaha, won the famed Triple Crown. Mr. Fitzsimmons is retiring in June. And that's the news up to the moment from the WOR newsroom. There'll be more news at 5:30 when John Gambling comes along with Rambling with Gambling, and WOR presents 15 minutes of news every hour on the hour. Now another look at the weather picture. Temperature is a pretty chilly one here in New York City. 38 degrees, humidity 57%. Barometric pressure is 29.48 inches, and the wind is from the west 12 miles per hour. It's clear at the moment. The forecaster says, however, we'll have some variable cloudiness and also some sunshine. It'll be breezy and pretty cool today, highest temperatures around 50. Fair and cool tonight, lowest temperatures in the mid-30s in the city, near 30 in the outlying suburbs. Thursday, variable cloudiness, continued cool, highest 50 to 55, and the outlook for Friday, fair and continued cool. 7 minutes now past 5, and here are the Honey Dreamers with the Flirtation Walk.
I always knew. I always knew. I always knew. I always knew. Someday I'd accompany you along flirtation walk. A dream foretold, a story that you'd unfold, that lives for